Chaitanya Manupustam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swavarantikam Namam Vishnupada Kashapista Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pusatari Satarine Vanchakapa Jivasha Kripa Sinuvevata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gopaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we continue in English, huh? Du kriegst russische Übersetzung? Ja? Gut. Denn ja, wir haben ein paar Leute, die halt weder Russisch noch Deutsch verstehen. Good. Yes, so in the morning session, we already established or introduced, you know, the importance of endeavoring to get on deeper levels of chanting. We talked briefly about the inattentiveness on the level of the body, on the level of the mind. And yeah, so the afternoon, I'm just thinking, let us continue for now and then maybe backtrack a little bit. So let us now introduce the most crucial inattentiveness on the level of the heart, what that means, right? And yeah, we can also remember to begin with that actually Krishna is mainly interested in our love and devotion with which we offer our service. He is not so interested in the mere offering, but with what mood, what attitude we offer it. And actually the same thing is also there in chanting. So Krishna is not primarily interested in the numbers, 64 rounds or something. But no, he wants the love and devotion, right? That's what he's interested in. And we may know, I'm sure we all have heard it so many times, Prabhupada actually gave us a nice analogy how we are meant to chant, right? What did he say? We should chant like a child, crying out helplessly, desperately for his mother, right? And yes, we repeat these analogies, we know it all, but yet to realize it is a whole different thing, because I mean, we can ask ourselves, are we actually chanting like this? Are we? Like a child desperately crying for his mother? Are we chanting with this mood? Huh? No, we are not. No, we are not. That's the problem, actually. And interestingly to understand, a child that cries out in desperation for his mother does not have the problem of a wandering mind. Right? Very simple, but yet quite profound. It makes the point, you know. So a child which cries helplessly for his mother does not say, this is strange, every time I'm crying for my mother, I'm thinking of so many other things, what to play, with whom to play, where to play, you know. No, the child has no room in his mind except, where is my mother? I need her now. There is this desperation there, right? So, and that actually brings the mind to the heart, right? Yes. So there we very clearly understand the point we made before breakfast, that the actual solution is to involve the heart. That's the solution. Then the mind is drawn to the heart and is not occupied with all other plans and things, you know. Yes. So it's a very simple yet profound analogy which really makes this point that the solution is to involve the heart. So now, of course, the question comes, so why is it so difficult to helplessly cry for Krishna? So what is blocking us? What's in our way there? Huh? What do we need to have?
I have actually a question to that.
A question. If you don't mind, let's make a few points, you know, otherwise if I already now allow questions, then we get all over the place. Let's establish a few points, and then, I mean, we have quite a bit of time, we have 2 hours, so, and we will do a chanting exercise also, and so on. So let's park the questions. Let's first understand what is in our way. Why can we not feel helpless when we cry out for Krishna, or we are meant to cry? What's in our way? What? False ego, yes, our pride. You know? We think ourselves to, have it all down pretty well, and we've got our life under control, and I'm doing pretty good. I've got my job and my house or flat and my income, and everything is going according to my plan here. And so, that's the problem. Basically, pride, false ego, making us feel that we don't actually need Krishna. You know, deep down in our heart, because we're in such a habit of ignoring Krishna that we don't really feel, you know, this realization has not sunk to the level of the heart yet, that we have this eternal loving relationship and that we actually need Krishna, you know, and we just think we get quite nicely by without him. And all right, Sundays, there's good prasadam there at the temple, so let's have a bit of Krishna in our life. But otherwise, we feel quite content, right? Yes. And I do want to read you one purport, where Prabhupada makes a lot of powerful statements. This is in the chapter, 1st Canto, 8th chapter, verse 26, the famous verse where Queen Kunti prays for the calamities to come again and again. So there Prabhupada says in the purport, actually the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality of such utterance also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man or woman, of course it's not man versus woman, but human, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the 4 principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. This is pretty heavy, and there are a few strong points in it. First of all, the one that a person who is situated in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. So that just shows how dangerous material satisfaction is for spiritual progress, actually. Because as soon as you feel, great material satisfaction, we become complacent. Yes, everything is all right, life is not so bad, So, and then, great material satisfaction, how can we be helpless? Huh? Not so easy, Great material satisfaction means, yeah, you're doing all right, everything is fine, So, and then to feel helpless, not so easy, Of course, a very advanced, self-realized soul knows very well, no matter how much material satisfaction there may be in life, Krishna at any time can take it away, and he often does so. So there is still helplessness there, because we will clearly understand we want to get out of here, we want to face death, remembering Krishna alone. So, when we deeply understand our position here in the material world, we will feel helpless, even though there may be some material satisfaction there also. But if we're simply, situated in great material satisfaction and we're kind of enjoying this and we are attached to that, then it's pretty hard to feel helpless and to cry out in helplessness, Yeah, and that's why Prabhupada very clearly makes the point. Therefore, the 4 principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and bodily beauty, they are, so to speak, disqualifications. So to speak, because, as a rule, they lead to pride. Look how highly qualified I am, look how wealthy I am, look how beautiful I am. Oh, look at my aristocratic family line. So that's the problem. And again, of course, all these things can be used in devotional service. And as I was mentioning, if we are a little spiritually realized, we realize this is a very temporary thing that Krishna has given us, can be taken away at any time. Often enough happens overnight that people lose their bodily beauty through some accident or whatever, or they lose or their wealth overnight, and their material qualification all of a sudden is also not really valid anymore in some way. So it does happen, and I guess this really is the reason why Krishna sends us calamities, just to help us to feel helpless. To help us along. Yeah, because this is quite, important aspect of spiritual development, that we have to come to this point of feeling helplessly dependent on Krishna, on Prabhupada, on Guru, on the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and so on. That's what it means, for example, to be connected to Prabhupada, to feel helplessly dependent on his mercy, his guidance, his blessings, Yeah, so it's quite a deep thing. And that's why, His Holiness Gauradesh Maharaj, one of our gurus who is not in physical form present with us anymore, he used to say that an ISKCON temple is like a crying school, where we learn to cry out to Krishna. Yes. And that is really the essence of whole Krishna consciousness, to cry out to Krishna, in desperation. Yes. Yeah, so very important part, this crying, this cultivation of crying. And of course, this we talk about internal crying, not externally, performing some crying session there. So it's deep in the heart, longing for Krishna, feeling helpless. Yes. So that's basically what it means to involve the heart in a nutshell. You know? And of course, the very first step to at all cry out to Krishna is that we are mindful of Krishna's presence, right? That when we chant, we deepen the heart, we mindfully turn to Krishna and feelingly call out to him. Krishna, I know you're there, please accept me. I mean, who do we think we are that we are so easily accepted by Krishna, you know, to actually enter his personal pastimes in Vrindavan, not such a cheap thing. So there has to be some intense longing there, you know, begging to actually be allowed to enter his personal association and get there. So yeah, and the first step is really to be mindful of his presence when we chant. Because very easily we can completely ignore Krishna in our so-called Krishna consciousness. This is possible, you know? We can be running, so much service, projects, ambitions, this, that. But hey, what are we doing for our relationship with Krishna? Yes. So, and when we build this relationship, this is when we chant, that's when we build this relationship. But step number one is that we really mindfully turn to him when we chant, and not just are busy in our head with our plans and ambitions and service and. But that we really mindfully turn to him and appeal to him feelingly. So, and I would like to, at this point, do a little japa exercise with you all before you are falling asleep or something. So even if you did not bring your beads, it doesn't matter. You can either chant on your fingers or you can just chant. We will let you know when we finish. So since we do have a bit of time, I would suggest that we chant 2 rounds, all in our own speed, you know, not in unison, but in our own speed. And we try exactly that we really mindfully, deep in our heart, we turn to Krishna, feelingly appeal to him. Krishna, I know you're there, please accept me. We want to try and fill our heart with longing for Krishna. Yes. All right? So, yes. And we chant 2 rounds, but even if you don't have beads, no problem, you can just chant without beads. I have to warn you straight away, I'm a pretty slow chanter, so I usually take 10 minutes for 1 round. So you may finish earlier than I do, but I hope you will allow me to also finish my 2 rounds. So even if you don't have beads, you just chant the Maha Mantra, and we will let you know when at least my 2 rounds are finished. And then I'm sure your 2 rounds would also be finished by then, right? And I mean, it is helpful that we close our eyes, because then we can concentrate more on the sound, because we are giving attention to the holy name through the ears. Usually we are used to give attention to something through the eyes, or look at this, look at that. So in the sense perception of the eyes is most distracting, you know, because it's actually most superficial what we see, you know. And yeah, the sense perception of the eyes most distracting. And if we close the eyes, we can be less distracted, hopefully, and we can also put more concentration on the sound vibration. So Prabhupada was also saying, hear yourself chant sincerely. You know? Hear yourself chant sincerely. So yes, we do try to hear the sound, but at the same time, chanting sincerely means involve the heart. It means we turn towards Krishna really and appeal to him, knowing that yes, Krishna and the holy name are non-different, so we are calling upon Krishna and we give him attention. You know, we are not ignoring him, but we are actually trying to give him attention. Okay, let us try this. Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, 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 Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama. Krishna, 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 Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama. Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Okay, thank you for your patience, for waiting until I finished it. So, how did you go with your exercise? Did you find it easy? Did you find it easy? No.
Not at the beginning.
No. Well, even after 37, 38 years, not easy. Yes, because we are just so in the habit of ignoring Krishna for so many lifetimes. You know, that just by putting tilak and kantimala on and walking around with a bead bag, it doesn't mean we have made some change there, you know. It requires a whole internal paradigm shift, actually. So it's not easy at all, really, you know. And this exercise is for many devotees actually a real eye-opener, because they realize, oh my God, this is what it means to chant the holy name, to actually endeavor at least to make the sincere endeavor, you know, to really turn to Krishna, feelingly appeal to him. And I think this exercise makes it also pretty clear how these different versions of inattentive chanting, which we talked about this morning very briefly, how they are really inattentive, even going for walks. You know, if this is not so easy sitting here in the temple room, in a seminar on chanting the holy name, in front of Sri Sri Gauradesh, in front of Srila Prabhupada, if it's not easy here, yeah? What to speak of doing so many other things while driving the car, going for walks, going shopping, talking, this, that, you know? You may as well forget about it, you know? Yes. Even chanting in public transport. In our neophyte stage, how can you helplessly call out to Krishna if you have to worry what other people around think of you? You know? Yes. Because especially here in the Western world, people have no clue what this chanting is. You know? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you one funny story which I often like to tell. You know, one devotee shared with me how he was sitting on the train, I think it was in Ukraine, trying to chant his rounds, and opposite him were all non-devotees sitting. So he was trying, to hide the fact that he was chanting, make it unnoticeable somehow. And then he overheard this whole discussion, going on opposite him on the seats. That one fellow was saying to the other, "Oh, have you seen this little bag? He's got this little bag there. I wonder what this is all about." And then the other one says, "Yes, I've also been wondering, and look, something is moving inside there, And then the other one says, "Yes, and can you hear this pss, 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 pss? It sounds like birds, So then the conclusion was, yes, he must have some little birds in this bag, and they're trilling, So seriously, this is not made up, it's a true story. So if you have people around you like that, how can you feelingly call out in helplessness? Not possible. And this has happened to me once too in Ukraine. There, devotees picked me up on the train station with a taxi, and I was sitting in the back, quietly chanting. And then the taxi driver was saying, "Oh, do you have some birds there with you?" Yes. Yes. And another devotee once told me how he was chanting at the airport, at the departure gate. And he was just walking up and down. They wouldn't let him on the plane. Yeah, they thought he was planning some suicide bombing attack. And he was just psyching himself up there and praying. And he had to fly the next day. They wouldn't let him on the plane. They interrogated him. He missed his flight. So they rebooked him for the next day. So these things happen when you chant in public and people have no clue. What the hell are you doing? You have to be in external consciousness, always worrying what other people think. So you will be distracted completely, I mean, really, of course, Prabhupada, he can chant anywhere. He's beyond, his environment. He was chanting on the plane, no problem, he was focused. I mean, so a little off the topic, but just to show how Prabhupada is just beyond this material world. I can't remember where I heard the story, either Shrutakirti Prabhu or Harisori Prabhu. And I often think of this when I'm flying, that when in the plane the announcement was going on, you should take your seat and put your seat belt on. This is when Prabhupada was getting up and going to the bathroom. Yes. He just completely ignored it. And people were trying to stop him. He couldn't be stopped, Yes. And then people were turning to the servant, "Hey, servant was saying, "Well, what can I do? He's just doing what he wants to do. I cannot have any influence here." So Prabhupada was just beyond any rules and regulations in his, his external surroundings there. So he was in a different world, in a different reality, So he didn't worry what was going on around him, Yeah, so, but for us, we are of a different category, and just this fact, how difficult it is here, sitting in a whole seminar on the Holy Name, makes it very clear that while we do other things, we have no chance really to mindfully turn to Krishna and feelingly, helplessly call out to him, longing for the relationship, not possible, Yes, and I mean, in the Harinam Chintamani, the book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it says that if we chant the holy name without turning to Krishna mindfully, this is not the real thing. it is like the reflection, a shadow of the real thing. Yes. So, shadow, reflection, let us imagine, today at 2:15 at lunch, I show you a reflection of a plate of prasadam. So obviously, this will not be very satisfying to your belly, So same thing, if we just chant the reflection of the holy name, will not give deeper satisfaction to the soul, will not really give taste, yes. So, and His Holiness Satchidananda Swami Maharaj, he took this reflection shadow example and he turned it into the empty medicine capsule that he says when we chant the Mahamantra, without mindfully turning to Krishna, feelingly appealing Him, calling out to Him, this is empty capsule. So capsule, not tablet, but capsule, you can open, usually there should be medicine inside, but it can also be empty, so from outside it looks like the real thing, but no medicine inside, therefore no effect. No effect meaning on the absolute platform of the chanting, establishing our relationship with Krishna, it will have no effect. Like it is mentioned in the Shastra that even while chanting in the offensive stage, Nam Aparat, there can be some material opulences coming along, our reactions to sinful activities are taken away. But, as bhaktas, as, bhakti yogis performing devotional service, we are not so interested in material opulence. As we heard, this can very well be a disqualification. And we are also not interested in just getting freed from our sinful reactions. That comes automatically as we surrender to Krishna and Guru. They take our karma, So, but we are interested in pure devotional service, developing pure bhakti. And on that level, it has no effect. No effect. And it's very clear and simple and logical, that our chanting can only re-establish this lost and forgotten relationship if at least we are mindful of Krishna's presence. And we mindfully turn to Him. Right? If we ignore Him and think of so many other things, how can that chanting develop a relationship? It will not. Right? And it's the same thing in our practical life. Relationships don't develop automatically just by time going by. Right? Doesn't matter where, whether it's in the brahmachari ashram, or whether it's in family life, or whether it's among students at the university or something. If we want to develop a deeper relationship, step number one is to be mindful of the person's presence there. Right? But if we ignore others and just, Haribol, and we run and do our thing, our relationships will remain very superficial and external. Right? So something is there with Krishna. If we just come in and Hare Krishna and walk out, it's a very external and superficial relationship, and the deeper relationship will develop when we chant His holy name while feelingly appealing to Him, longing for the relationship. And that will, have some effect. Very clear. I mean, if we chant every day, let's say 2 hours, or depending how long we do this mantra meditation, if we actually spend this time really mindfully turning to Krishna, feelingly calling out to Him, something will happen in this relationship, right? It's very logical and simple. It will become tangible reality. Very clear. So, and if we do it for many, many years, so then at the moment of death, will be very natural that we simply want to put our life in Krishna's hands and we long to, move on to his abode. Will be very natural, So actually the moment of death is really the test. Which relationship is most important to us? And that's why Krishna says, tägliche kaleva. So, if you remember me alone, then you will surely come to him. Not me and your husband, wife, grandchild, dog, cat, whatever, but it's Krishna alone. And that's not so easy to remember Krishna alone, So, and if any other relationships in our life are more important than our relationship with Krishna, well, then we will have to come back, do another round in the material world, finish off this more important business. So the qualification to enter the spiritual world is that this relationship has to be the most important one. Yes. And we already, it means we have to prepare. We have to, it's a whole process. We can't just think, yes, let me enjoy life now, and then when I'm old, I'm going to start to chant Hare Krishna or something. But no, it's a lifetime or even several lifetimes of preparing for this final exam, because we have so many attachments, especially family relationships, and very deep attachments they bring along. So to make our relationship with Krishna our most important relationship, our most dear relationship, that's not so easy, And yes, we have to cultivate this mood already now and here. And it means to put the holy name as first priority, And just the fact how many people attend such a program on a Saturday morning shows that people have so many other priorities in life, so many other things which are more important to them. That's our disease. That's the problem, really. Yes. Let me just maybe now see if we have any questions. There's so many more things we can talk, and we will bring another few things in, but just not to make it too long in one stretch. Are there any questions just about what we discussed? Yes.
We should chant like child crying for his mother.
Yeah.
But the child, like the whole day, it's with the mother. And in the evening, it got lost in the supermarket or something like that. And then it cries for the mother.
Yes.
Yeah, not with Krishna the whole day. Like the child, it's quite a different experience to be physically with a person the whole day and then cry because it's so fresh, the remembrance. And so, but Krishna, I never saw him personally like that. He's the deity, of course, but it's a different relationship. How can we cultivate then this same feeling?
So the question for our online audience, if there is anybody, is whether, the child is the whole day with his mother, and then when he loses the mother in the supermarket, for example, then it is more natural to cry out in helplessness, whereas we are separated from Krishna, we have not as such met him face to face, even though we said with chanting we can meet him face to face. But so it's more difficult. My answer would be that this is simply an analogy, So of course the situation of the child is different. but it is simply a powerful analogy to, in a very simple way, get across what quality of feeling we should chant with, you know? Yes, yes. So, yeah, of course, the situation is different, but nevertheless, it is a powerful analogy. And I mean, as we become a little purified, we understand more and more that we have all reasons to feel hopeless, you know, because material energy is so strong, you know. At any time, something can happen, you know, and at any time we can face death, we can be kicked out of this body, you know, at any time. We may think, oh, this is far away and I'm only, whatever, 40 or 38 or whatever, but at any time you can be kicked out, you know. Yes. One of my favorite places to get a bit of exercise is the cemetery here nearby. You know, so there you see quite a few people, they leave their bodies when they're 21 or 38 or something. So it's not all 80, 90 or something, you know, no. So if we realize this, we have all reasons to feel helpless, actually, you know. And I mean, even like the devotees in Ukraine, I've been, for those who don't know me, I've been preaching in Ukraine for over 20 years. And now during the war, I haven't been able to go, of course. But they have also shared quite a few hard-moving realizations, how this just helped them so much to really cry out to Krishna in helplessness, you know? Because in a war, when the bombs are flying, what other choice do you have? Where to turn to? You know, Krishna is the only shelter. No other shelter. You know? Yes, yes. So in that way, even such a horrible situation, if we accept it in Krishna consciousness, you know, and as an opportunity to take more tightly shelter of Krishna, can be the greatest blessing. Because finally we are crying out to Krishna in helplessness. You know? Yes. And I mean, it seems like death is one of the few aspects or elements that really make us feel helpless. I mean, by the way, in Kirtan, we should also cry out like that, actually, in helplessness. And that realization I had, you know, sometime 2008 or something, when His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj had this first health crisis and he was in coma for about 10 days or something. And at that time I was in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh, 80–90% of the devotees are his disciples. So when the news came out that Maharaj was in coma, this was really shaking people, you know, to bits and pieces. I mean, people were devastated. And immediately we started 24-hour kirtans in all the temples. And these kirtans were so powerful, yes, because they were sung in this mood of helplessly crying out, you know. And some kirtan leaders, they were actually literally crying while they were leading, you know, simply begging Krishna to somehow keep their Guru Maharaj in this material world for longer. So in such a situation, there is just, it's not the right time to show off, you know. When your guru is in coma and you're praying for him, you don't feel like making a show of yourself, how great you play the mridanga and how beautiful your voice is and so on, you know. And that's why these kirtans, had a different quality to them because they're without this mood of showing off. And then for me it was interesting to observe that as Maharaj's health was becoming more stable, that mood of helplessly crying out was fading away again. You know, and people relaxed. Looks like he will stay after all, and it's not so bad. And people were relaxing, and immediately you could sense that the mood of the kirtan was also changing again. And the usual showing off was infiltrating again, you know? Yes. And that actually gave me quite a strong realization that even in kirtan we are meant to chant like that, to really fill our kirtan, you know, longing for the relationship, mindfully turning to Krishna. So this empty capsule is also, of course, there in kirtan, you know? So it means when we sing in kirtan without actually connecting, feelingly calling out to the Lord, turning to Him, then it is simply nice music, but not much more than that, you know, because kirtan is a highly transcendental affair. It's not just a question of enjoying some good music session or something. But no, we are connecting. So what makes a kirtan powerful is if especially the kirtan leader actually connects with the Lord. So it's not merely a matter of the musical expertise or something. Of course, at the same time, we try and make it a pleasing offering, a pleasing glorification of the Lord, and also pleasing to the devotees so they feel inspired to chant the holy name. But the musical expertise is not the foremost thing. And again, if we become too musically expert very easily, that again can make us proud, you know? And we think, oh, look at me, what a good kirtaniya I am, and so, like the 4 opulences we were reading, our so-called disqualifications. So I, as a joke, or half joke, I like to include a 5th opulence, being a good musician. That can very easily get to our head and we become proud about it, and then, we just use kirtan to show off, you know. Yes. Yeah, so and I remember once also one of our spiritual masters, he was once sharing this story, how he was doing a medical checkup and the doctors found something. And they said, we have to analyze this may as well be cancer, you know, but it was not cancer. But anyway, it took 10 days to check the cells, whether they were cancer or not. And Maharaj was laughingly saying, I think in these 10 days I chanted my best rounds. And he was saying, you know, I was really thinking, this could be it. You know, wow, okay, please Krishna, you know, help me to remember you, longing for him, and. So death seems to really be the main and foremost element, that when death comes a little closer, knocks on our door, then that shakes us up from our complacency, and all of a sudden we feel helpless, you know? Yeah, so, that's why these little warnings of having all of a sudden some serious health crisis and so on, they can be very beneficial if we accept them in that mood of, you know, taking more shelter of Krishna and the process of chanting the holy name and so on. You know. Do we have any other question? Yes, second one.
As you mentioned that this Prabhu was chanting literally by crying, and but I see also by japa, nobody's really crying, nobody's really also not even chanting very seriously. Or without emotions, you don't see any emotions mainly. Some do maybe more, but the main thing is you don't see any special emotion, or you don't hear it in the voice. Why?
So, when we chant, we usually don't see emotions or hear emotions. Well, I dare say, in one sense, we, at least in our neophyte stage, we should not make them visible. Because again, false ego, very tricky, you know, even can make us use the holy name to show off what a great self-realized soul I am. Just see, I'm crying, I'm, you know, Uttam Adhikari here, highest level of advancement, you know. No, it is an internal thing. It is an internal thing, you know. And even Prabhupada himself, I mean, there is one book, our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All, where different personalities share their memories or remembrances of Srila Prabhupada before he left India and came to the West. And in that book you can see many people share how they saw Prabhupada crying while he was chanting. Tears would roll down his cheeks. But then when Prabhupada came to the Western world, he very carefully was hiding his spiritual emotions because he knew people would imitate cheaply. You know, Kali Yuga is the age of hypocrisy and cheating. So people would just cheaply imitate. And that's why Prabhupada was very carefully hiding his emotions. You know, and there was only very few incidences when Prabhupada couldn't control his spiritual emotions and his voice choked up, and he simply asked everybody to sing and kirtan and so on. You know, very few situations. Whereas when you read this book, when he was in Mayapur, Vrindavan, he seemed to allow his transcendental emotions more freely to flow, you know. But, well, then there was also this other situation. I can't remember where it was, in America or Australia, where, you know, there was an article of Prabhupada's visit in the newspaper, and there was a picture of Prabhupada, and devotees showed him, and then one devotee was saying, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, you look so sad here on this picture." And then Prabhupada said, "No, I was in ecstasy." You know? So what can also look externally as very serious or something, you don't know what is going on inside this person, you know. And often what we think is ecstasy, oh, jumping around, oh, I'm so happy. This is not really transcendental ecstasy, you know. So this may be more influenced by the mode of passion or something, and the desire to enjoy the situation or atmosphere or something. But actually deep transcendental ecstasy is something different. It's of a different quality, you know. So yeah, I dare say it's maybe good that we don't see it so much, because yeah, otherwise it's just like that, you know, we easily would fall into this whole thing of pretending, and I mean, I have seen these things, you know, in Bengal, West Bengal or Bangladesh. There people like to imitate, you know, the spiritual emotions, and rolling on the ground there and crying and so on. Or they come and hug you and start crying, and you know, yeah, gets a bit on your nerves, you know. Often people don't follow anything, not the four regulative principles or nothing, but then when they come and embrace a devotee, they start crying and so on. A bit emotional, and there may easily be a pinch of showing off and wanting to be recognized as advanced devotee. And that we call sahajya, so we have to guard against this, But certainly we can say this, when we chant japa, there should be a little bit of intensity there, because sometimes you hear people, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, they want to maybe chant very attentively and hear, but then it is so slow that you wonder, are they really crying out to Krishna? So a little bit of intensity has to be there. If it is too, a too comfortable pace there, and almost falling asleep there, simply putting emphasis on pronouncing every word. All right, this is also nice, but some little intensity, some longing, some little desperation should be put into our chanting, I'd say, And it's simply easier to cultivate that mood if we can also express it in how we chant, It helps us to cultivate a bit more desperation and longing, Yes. Mataji, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question. So you were talking about the material helplessness and the wonderful child. But I had a chance to read your book also, and telling about the spiritual helplessness. Yeah. So what is actually the difference between this and spiritual helplessness? And if one is spirit means is something like living, So how can a Krishna as a mother leave his child as spiritually ungrateful, helpless?
Okay,
so what does it mean in detail?
The difference between spiritual helplessness and material helplessness. So it's actually very simple. Material always means disconnected from Krishna. And spiritual means in connection with Krishna. Yes. So with a spiritual vision of life, we see Krishna behind everything. We see everything as coming from Krishna. We see Krishna as the creator behind everything. We see Krishna as the proprietor of everything. We see Krishna as the enjoyer of everything. So that's the spiritual outlook on life, connecting everything with Krishna. And the material outlook is not to see Krishna in the picture. And same thing is there in regards to helplessness. So material helplessness would mean that we feel pity for ourselves. We keep ourselves in the center, and we just indulge in some self-pity. Oh, I'm so useless, I'm so fallen, I will never make it. Oh, and we drown in some self-pity there, And that is not uplifting, it is depressing. We may even become or suicidal, or no use for me to even come to this Hare Krishna temple anymore. I will never make it. I'm just so helpless and I can't do it. And so that's material helplessness. Whereas spiritual helplessness, we say, okay, I'm tiny, insignificant, I'm helplessly dependent on the devotees, on Guru, on Srila Prabhupada, on the deities, on Krishna. So let me take shelter of Krishna. And then that helplessness is uplifting because we take shelter of Krishna more tightly. Yes, that's the whole idea. So we have to put Krishna in the center and realize, yes, by ourselves we are helpless. And interestingly enough, that really seems to contradict each other, that spiritual helplessness leads to confidence. Because by taking shelter of Krishna, we know Krishna is there, Krishna will protect us. And the result of our endeavors, it is up to Krishna. It's not in our hands, we can only sincerely try. And the result is up to him, you know? Yes. So, and Prabhupada gives in that regard also this example of a small child trying to cross a highway, freeway, Autobahn, you know? So if the child thinks, oh, I can do it, I'm a big boy, and runs, well then for sure he's going to get run over. But if he puts his hand in his father's hand and says, so I am with my father, I am so helpless, so that's why I better hang on to the hand of my father. And then by the protection of the father, he can cross the road, you know, and that gives him confidence, you know. So by helplessly taking shelter of Krishna and the whole process of devotional service, we actually become confident. Whereas material confidence is based on false ego. I am great, I'm good, I can do it, and you know, that's confidence based on false ego, whereas spiritual confidence is based on taking shelter. You know? Yes. Do we have any other points? Yes.
Mataji, you said, I'm asking about chanting method. You said it's better to close eyes.
Yes.
Whenever I close my eyes, I
fall asleep.
After a while.
Well, it means we didn't take enough rest. We didn't get enough sleep. You know, if we are actually well rested, we will not fall asleep if we close our eyes. You know, yeah. Actually, who was it? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I believe. He even recommends to chant, but no need to try this tomorrow. But he recommends to chant with a bucket over our head. A bucket over our head, yes. I actually tried it. It's quite amazing, yes, because it's like a mini bhajan kutir. For those who don't know what a bhajan kutir is, so I don't even know how you translate it into English, but it's like a little meditation.
Zone?
Not zone. It's usually in India when you go to the bhajan kutirs of our previous acharyas. It's a tiny little building, tiny little. You know, you crawl through and yeah. And yeah, tiny little building. It's like a cave, a little cave, where they were withdrawing for their chanting and their praying and their studies. And in these bhajan kutirs, you will not find big windows to enjoy the view or something. No, they're dark, no windows. And because they're relatively small, you also, the sound echoes, you can hear very nicely, and it protects us from all kinds of distractions, these bhajan kutirs, you know. So, our previous acharyas, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and even so many others, Madhavendra Puri, all these bhajan kutirs you find also in Bangladesh a lot. Mukunda Datta, Vasudev Datta's bhajan kutir. So, you know, our previous acharyas, they were not walking around in the market and chanting and all this. No, you know, they were going to their, what's a good word in English? Yeah, their huts in seclusion, you know, and they were doing their bhajan there, their meditation. So, and when you put a bucket over your head, this is like a mini bhajan kutir, you know? And yeah, you try it in your home. No need to come with a bucket for Mangaladi tomorrow. But it has quite a powerful effect because it definitely separates you from the outside world there. You're in your bubble, in your bucket. And yeah, and the sound echoes. But, you know, we don't want to fall asleep underneath the bucket. And he's giving a similar idea also by saying we can chant with a blanket or chadar over our head. Even that also, it is, you know, keeping the distraction outside. It is keeping the energy within, underneath the blanket or chadar. But again, I have often seen people doing this and then the head goes down and you know what's going on underneath the chadar. So yeah, this of course has to be avoided, and yeah, maybe we are not qualified to even try these exercises, you know. But yeah, it has some effect, you know. Yes. Any other thing? Well, let me ask you. So what is more important, japa or kirtan?
Both. Both has its, I believe this, both have its own advantages and, I mean both, not advantages and disadvantages, both have its own presence, I believe, because meditation is something which is always there, and kirtan is something which has its own beauty.
And what's the difference?
I believe it is, meditation is you are, as you said, with respect to the kutter, you always be focused, you know what is going on, you revalidate yourself and then self-reflect. And kirtan is just enjoying with the process, going with the flow. And that is my perspective towards it.
Any other suggestions? What's the difference between japa and kirtan?
Japa is doing by yourself.
Mm.
And kirtan is you're making others make japa. Or to...
Yes. So japa, we build individually this connection with the Lord by chanting the holy name. It is more individual internal work. Most devotees say japa is more austere, you know, because you have to sit there and chant, and sometimes you may just not feel like it, or the mind is full of issues to solve, and you know, so it's more austere. But we have to individually build that connection, that lost and forgotten relationship with the Lord. So in kirtan, focus is also more on spreading, you know, that also other living entities get benefit from our chanting, because as we mentioned yesterday in our evening session, that the consciousness travels on sound vibration. So this is quite an amazing arrangement of the Lord, you know, that yes, if the holy name is purely chanted with love and devotion, then that consciousness travels on the sound coming out of our mouth. And that affects and transforms every living entity who hears it. Even the trees and the birds and the plants get some spiritual benefit from it. Yes, sir. So, but interesting to understand that japa sets the foundation to kirtan. Because in kirtan, there's more distractions. There's the melody, there's the rhythm, there's the instruments, there's the audience, you know. So unless we really established the connection a little bit more tangibly in our japa, most likely we will be distracted in kirtan. And we get on external consciousness. Oh, what is everybody thinking now? Do they like my tune? Or maybe I have to change or go faster and this and that. And then we cannot connect. You know? So, but if our relationship with Krishna is more established in japa, then it will be much easier in kirtan to really feelingly call out to the Lord when we sing, right? And that's what makes a kirtan a good kirtan, when the kirtan leader actually connects with Krishna. Otherwise, it might just be nice music, you know. So now my question, what is the foundation to japa? What is the foundation to japa? Service. We can say one particular service. Huh? Reading? Yes, Prabhupada's books. Getting this sambandha gyan, this knowledge. Who am I? Who is Krishna? What is this whole material world all about? If that knowledge really hits the heart, that we realize, oh, I have a loving eternal relationship with the Lord, and I have been such a rascal. I have been ignoring Krishna for so many years in this life, so many lifetimes. You know, so then will be very natural that we feel remorse, we feel regret, and we turn to Krishna when we chant. Right? So that's why Prabhupada's books, hearing, especially Srimad Bhagavatam lectures, that sets the foundation to japa. And japa sets the foundation to kirtan. That's how the three connect with each other, you know. So that's why Prabhupada introduced morning, evening programs in all his temples all over the world. And we are again and again reminded we should read Prabhupada's books, you know, just to get this knowledge again and again, who we are, why we are in this world, what is our position towards Krishna, what is this whole material world, this whole circus here all about, you know. And we can practically experience this in our life, you know, if we don't hear or read for some days, even only some days, immediately the consciousness gets covered, you know? And this Krishna consciousness fades in the background, and we start thinking the real problems of life is how to pay our rent, or how to get permanent residency here in Germany, or whatever it may be, you know, or how to pass our exams at the university, or whatever, you know. And we forget, you know, that the real problem of life is how to get out of here. So we have to hear again and again and again, you know, for this knowledge to really sink to the heart, not just theoretical knowledge, not just gyan, but vigyan, realized. And then it will become so much more natural to actually turn to Krishna when we chant the holy name. So this is also good to observe, that, you know, the fact that how difficult it is for us to really mindfully turn to Krishna when we chant, it also reflects that this knowledge is not realized. Right? We may say, yes, I know I'm a servant, and we sign every email or every message with you a servant, But, you know, then we make all these plans to enjoy and control, so it means we don't know that we are servant. We think we are the controller and enjoyer, you know. So to know means to act upon. Otherwise we don't know, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why this reading and hearing lectures from more realized souls that we are, this helps us to more deeply assimilate this transcendental knowledge, and that sets the foundation to good chanting and japa, and that sets the foundation to have powerful kirtans, you know. Yes, and I was hinting, was it yesterday or no, it was this morning, that there's not only an empty capsule, but there is also a poisonous one. So what's that? What's the poisonous capsule? It's actually very simple. You know, usually the empty capsule can easily fill with poison. And it happens because empty capsule, as we said, we are chanting in japa or kirtan without actually connecting with Krishna. So then it doesn't satisfy the soul. And we may have that experience also sometimes in kirtans, that yes, somehow it's not giving a deeper satisfaction. Right? It's all very nice, but where is the real joy? Is not somehow not coming. So that is because the capsule is empty. No connection with Krishna, because what gives the bliss and the ecstasy is the connection with Krishna. So, and then because we are hankering for some joy and bliss, then the poison enters the empty capsule. Meaning, we use the holy name to show off. Then the false ego comes in our way, and we try and get that false ego gratification of showing off. Oh, look what a good kirtaniya I am. I have such a beautiful voice. I can play the instrument so well, and I know all these amazing tunes, and only I know them, and I'm so special, and all that, you know. So that's basically the poisonous capsule, that we use the holy name for showing off, bringing attention to ourselves rather than glorifying the Lord. And this is also possible in japa too, not only in kirtan. In kirtan it may be more obvious, but it is also there in japa. What does the poisonous capsule in japa look like?
Ego?
Huh? Ego, yes, ego, but how? How does it manifest? What do we do?
Being self-centered?
Yes. And how does it practically manifest? Huh? Doing it wrongly? No.
By acting how you portray things? Being
Yes.
self-centered.
Again, same thing like in kirtan, we use the holy name to show off. So it means, oh, Ekadashi, of course I'm chanting 64 rounds, posting a picture on Facebook, me chanting 64 rounds with a maha garland on and the chada over the shoulder and you know, posing as a very advanced devotee and using the holy name for this. You know? And then if somebody asks us on Ekadashi, or can you help in the kitchen? Prabhu, I'm chanting 64 rounds, you know, I don't know what you're doing on Ekadashi, but this is what I'm doing, and you know, and you know, trying to make some whole thing there about me chanting so many rounds and all this, you know. Yeah, or even imitating some transcendental ecstasies there, rolling on the ground, crying and doing a whole number there, you know, artificially bringing attention to ourselves and all that, you know. Yeah. So that's the poisonous capsule.
Yeah, but showing off, I don't know if it also has a positive thing. So maybe there are some people groups or doing chanting together. So if they say like I chanted this much, so it cannot be a motivation to another one. So if I think in a positive way. So just asking.
So the showing off.
No, not the showing off, but to share or to motivate others to chant as me.
To motivate others by chanting more. Well, it's very subtle. False ego, I mean, I published a whole book about it. It's very subtle, you know, and it can get into our way. It can get into, you know, it can find any little gap. It can get in the door there and spoil and poison things. So even if we're just meeting with devotees, and if you say, oh, I chanted so many rounds yesterday, you know, we may think, well, I'm only sharing to inspire them to also chant so many rounds. But there's this pinch of false ego motivation there, showing off, bringing attention to ourselves, how great I am. So, spoiled, you know. And I mean, see, therefore there is even this instruction there. When we, for example, we make a vow at Kartik time, what we want to do extra, you know, the month of Kartik, Kartik Mash is always a popular time to do something extra, not only to offer a ghee lamp, but to do something extra for the Lord. So there is this instruction. If we tell others what vow we make, we lose the benefit. So why is this there? Because there's this false ego thing there. Oh, I'm going to chant so many rounds every day during Kartik, and I'm going to do this, and oh, I'm doing that. You know, it can be a whole false ego competition there. Who's doing more and something more unusual and extraordinary. So we should actually not tell others. Yes, yeah.
It's just a connection between you and Krishna.
Exactly, yeah, yes, yes. I mean, even, you know, it goes so far, even when we make a donation, you know, to give in charity in the mode of goodness, we should not hanker for any recognition or anything. So we find that sometimes devotees, they don't want to be mentioned by name, you know, just to cultivate this mood of not wanting to get this recognition and so on, and this false ego satisfaction and so on, you know, of everybody knowing that I sponsored the Sunday feast prasadam and so on. So, and of course, in the beginning stage, we may need a little bit of false ego motivation just to get us doing something. So that's why we read out who sponsored the Sunday feast or something, and then other people think, oh, this person sponsored the feast. Oh, gee, I could do that too. Let me also do it. And all right, you know, we are not pure from one day to the other. So in the beginning, the false ego motivates us to do more, you know. But then eventually we should become free from this false ego motivation, you know, and not do things just to hanker to be recognized and our name being mentioned and all this, you know. Do we have anything else at this point? Yes?
Poisoning when the Mayavadis or spiritual groups, when they're chanting Hare Krishna, this is also not the same as when we are doing it.
Yeah.
Can you say something about it?
Yes. Good to understand this, that if Mayavadis chant Hare Krishna or other spiritual groups, they may very well chant in a very different mood, you know, because like kirtan has become a popular thing. I mean, you can even Google the word kirtan, you know, and you get a whole explanation what kirtan is, you know. So we are not the only society in the world who has kirtan. There's so many groups who have kirtan. But, first of all, powerful kirtan, we didn't talk about that. I considered it as self-explanatory. It should be based on following the 4 regulative principles, right? No meat, fish and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex life. That's the basic, you know, form of the basic pure foundation of purity, you know, from there we go higher. So many of these spiritual groups, they don't follow the four regulative principles, and they're Mayavadis. They don't even believe in a personality of Godhead, right? And they just want to enjoy the power of the Maha Mantra and the spiritual energy, or they want to become popular with that or something. So for sure, empty capsule, guaranteed. And well, as we said, the empty capsule easily fills with poison. So empty or poisonous capsule, guaranteed, you know, because they're not calling out feelingly, hopelessly to Krishna and longing for a relationship. They don't even believe in the personality of Krishna. So we should not get confused, you know, because sometimes there's even amongst us devotees some confusion. And they say, oh, this kirtan here, I found some YouTube thing there of him. I don't even know how they were called because I'm not so active there. You know, oh, but he's so expert and he's got so many thousands of followers, you know. And people are all bewildered by all these followers which people have. Ah, well, here we go already. The false ego is running after this recognition of having their 50,000 followers there on YouTube or something. So, but no, we have to clearly understand if people actually don't chant japa and they don't read Prabhupada's books, you know, and they get the Sambandha Gyan more deeply. All right, there may be some other Vaishnava lines, sampradayas also, but they should follow the four regulative principles and chant japa, you know, and read the Shastra, you know. Yes. Otherwise, most likely empty capsule, you know. Yes. And I mean, this whole empty capsule thing, it's quite a big topic really, you know, because I have to admit from my own spiritual life, probably the first 20 years, I also took empty capsules in my japa. I was maximizing my time, squeezing in the rounds here and there while I was sitting on the bus and all this, because I never heard anything about this, you know. Some 20 years ago, we were not talking about these things much in ISKCON, not at all actually, or maybe I wasn't there or whatever, you know. And even in Kirtan also, you know, these Kirtan Melas, they only started with Tamar Krishna Maharaj in Mayapur. This was 2003 or something, you know, so this is 20 years ago. Before then, there was all kinds of other things happening in Kirtan, summer saltos and sportive races and all this, and this was Kirtan, you know. So even for an international society, it takes some years to actually get on a higher level of understanding, you know. There's also this funny story. You may know Yadubar Prabhu. He made this famous, beautiful film about Prabhupada. It's a Prabhupada Sava. He personally told me this story. He was telling how he was in Prabhupada's room at a Mayapur festival. Prabhupada was there. And there was this passionate kirtan going on in the temple room. We call it Wampa Stompa Kirtan, you know, with a big wampas, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, going on, you know. So, and then kirtan was finished. And then Prabhupada turned to Yadubar Prabhu and said, "Good, he has finished." That was Prabhupada's comment. Good, he has finished. So, yeah, he didn't say anything more. But yeah, I guess, you know, Prabhupada was just happy at least they're chanting Hare Krishna. But yeah, he was not so impressed about this chanting, you know. And yeah, I mean, the more you get a little glimpse of deeper understanding of chanting, you kind of lose your attraction and taste to this passionate, loud kirtans, and you know, maybe it's also the age or something. Yeah. So. Yeah, so it takes a while, you know, for an international movement to get to some deeper levels of understanding, you know. Yes. So we do still have half an hour, and I would like to do one more little exercise with you. Most likely you don't have pen and paper here, but at least you have a phone. Right? And you're probably in the habit of writing messages. So I would like to request you to write a letter to Sri Harinam Prabhu. Okay, so we may be a little puzzled. Okay, what the hell is this now? Writing a letter to Sri Harinam Prabhu, somebody I've never met. So Sri Harinam Prabhu is of course Krishna in the form of the holy name. That's Harinam Prabhu. So, and we can write a letter to him. So again, we may think, how is this possible? Well, our Bhagavatam is full of glorifications and, you know, expressions of gratitude to different personalities, you know, and even like on Srila Prabhupada's appearance, his Vyasa Puja, we should actually all write a Vyasa Puja homage. Unfortunately, not many devotees are in this habit, but it's a highly important thing to do. I had the good fortune when I joined Krishna Consciousness in Australia, in Sydney. I was there in the ashram for 4 years. So there were many Prabhupada disciples there, and they trained us like that. You know, Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, you have to write a homage, you know? Yes, you have to sit down and at least once a year meditate on Prabhupada's wonderful qualities, glorifying him, expressing to him our gratitude that he has changed our life immensely, you know? Yes, so of course Prabhupada doesn't need our glorification, but it's for our sake, for our purification. So if we actually do this, and I've been doing this for 38 years, because I was trained like this, you know? So if you do this, that at least once a year, or maybe even twice a year for Prabhupada's disappearance at Kartik time, you know, to actually put something in writing, glorifying Prabhupada. This has an immense impact on our relationship with Prabhupada. Immensely. It's very powerful. Yes. So same thing we can also do with the holy name. That we write a letter, a homage, an offering to Krishna in the form of the holy name. You know? Expressing our gratitude that he appeared like this, and maybe we can express our lamentation that we are not really doing so much in order to develop our relationship with him. And we can rededicate ourselves, you know, okay, so from today on, I will do more, I will give more attention to you, Harinam Prabhu, you know, like that. So yeah, I would like to just request you, if you have your phones, you can just do it on your phone as if you write a text message to somebody. So thank God everybody has phones these days except myself. And yes, please stay, don't run off, because this is a powerful exercise. Don't miss out the sweet and deep thing here, you know? Yes, yes. Boshun, sit down. Or lock the door from outside.
No. Locking?
Huh? Try, just for 5-7 minutes, you know. Try and write something. Feelingly address the Lord in His personal form and express something. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So some of you seem to be finished. And even if you haven't finished, you can just finish it at your own time later or something. So we still have 15 minutes, and there is still one thing which I'd like to add. Are you still ready for assimilating one more point, or are you overloaded and exhausted? No? Something we can, yes. Because now we have talked so much